All right. Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to Birmingham Bible Church's Winning Wednesday. That's right. We are right here on Facebook. I don't know if you're watching us on YouTube or not, but make sure you subscribe to our channel, BHAM BC. If you're watching us via Twitter or Instagram, if you're watching us live on our website at bhambc.org, we would like to welcome everybody here on today. And listen, I just simply love this time of the week because we are able to give you some information, some insight, we able to educate you and just drop some knowledge on you, something maybe that you didn't already know. And so we need you to do us a favor. We need you to share this with some man. We need you to tag some man in the comment section. Share this with anybody that you know who needs this, because I realize that June is National Men's Health Month. And so with that, of course, you know, it's Father's Day. And so we're celebrating dads all of this month. And so happy Father's Day to you guys. But this month is also about just encouraging the men in your life. If you're a man and you're watching, we are here to encourage you on today. We want you to really take care of your bodies. We want you to eat right, exercise, and do all you can to prevent diseases. And why is this? Because people are depending on you. Some of you are dads, your granddads, your teachers, your leaders, your principals, your superintendents, your pastors, whatever you are, people are depending on you. And so I love this time of the month because we need to heighten the awareness of how men can prevent certain health problems. We need them to, of course, make sure they are detecting things early. We talked about this in even our cancer talks. All of our speakers have talked about, early detection is the key. And so we want to make sure y'all doing that, and really want you to seek out treatment for any disease that you may have. And so, of course, this month we had to reach out to one of our physicians. We always like to say, CNN has Dr. Fauci, and we have Dr. Conrad Miller out of Macon, Georgia. And so we are here to welcome Dr. Miller here on today. He is going to take some questions, give us some insight, give us some answers about how men can take care of their bodies. So hello, Dr. Miller.
Hey, good afternoon. Good to see you.
Oh, good to see you. Thank you so much for coming here on today here with us. And so I am super elated just about all the information that you're going to share with us. And so not going to belabor too long. So I did want to let's just start from scratch. Okay. So let's just say there's a man that's watching. He wants to know how he can, get started. Let's say he goes to his doctor. What are some of the standard things, the blood tests that need to be ran just to get a baseline?
Okay, sounds good. Well, I would tell anyone who's approaching the healthcare system, and of course, we know how Black people have a wariness with total justification of some elements of the healthcare system. So I would say, first of all, find a physician, male or female, who you're comfortable with, and if that requires it being the same gender, race, whatever, go ahead, search that person out, be referred by a church member, be referred by a friend, do a Google search, find someone who takes your insurance and someone who you think that you're comfortable with. Of course, you won't know until you actually sit face to face with them, but have a list of questions and ask them a few questions about themselves and about how they do things, because the best doctor in the world might not be the best doctor for you. I mean, the personalities might not match and things like that. And that matters if it's going to be your primary care person. I mean, it doesn't perhaps matter as much if you've got some unique one-time problem and you're never going to see them again. Some super specialist consultant, maybe it doesn't matter if their personality isn't the best. But if you're planning on finding a long-term relationship, a long-term physician patient relationship, then you need to find somebody who works with you, so you can deal with their foibles and they can deal with your foibles. So I say all that to say, go in there, have a list of things you're interested in, just like Lady Pam just referred to, a list of labs that perhaps you're interested in. And as soon as you get established with this person, this office, get a physical exam. A physical exam is going to probably handle all the labs that you're interested in. And it should be covered by most insurances because of the Affordable Care Act. So there are always caveats to that. That you might have to meet a deductible, which is a certain amount of money that the patient must pay before the insurance kicks in. And there's a deductible every year with most insurances. But some people have co-insurance. Maybe you've got insurance through your job and your spouse's job. So one insurance would pay, the copay or the deductible, and the other might pay the office visit. But those are the things that you would talk about with your benefits person at your job and with the insurance department at the doctor's office, and they can kind of give you an idea of about how much money you might end up having to pay. But regardless, anything in a doctor's office is incredibly cheaper than going to the ER. So as you were referring to preventive health care and trying to stop problems before they start and trying to address health issues that the person has, it's a lot easier, it's a lot cheaper, it's a lot more efficient to do it through an office than through the hospital or the emergency room. And of course, you don't want to be at the hospital right now because COVID is still real, and things are not 100% normal at hospitals yet.
Yeah. So you're right about that. So with those labs, let's just say cholesterol screening. Let's take a stab at a couple of them.
Okay.
So how often should that be checked? I've heard every 5 years. And I know with some of these things I'm about to say, it depends on if it runs in your family, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But cholesterol screening, how often should it be checked? At what age?
Well, we start at adulthood, basically. Cholesterol, the numbers change throughout early life and into adulthood because cholesterol is needed for a child, because those fats, those cholesterols are used to make the nerve sheaths that surround the nerves, including in the brain. So the numbers stabilize to adult levels around age 21. And generally, I'll start doing them when the person is an adult, maybe when they're going to college at 18 or 19, but a lot of times kids get away and don't get those physicals. So usually they'll end up coming home in a year or two after college and get a physical over the summer. And then usually they start kind of coming more regularly after they get a real job and get some stable insurance. So it usually ends up being a young adult, 25 or so. And I like to do them every year, but it does vary. And of course, if they're normal, then of course you can kind of just watch. And if they're not normal, then you really do have to follow more closely.
Okay. And so how do you know when somebody's cholesterol is out of whack? What's the number where like, okay, we need to,
Mhm.
do something? Is it the
Well,
triglycerides? Does that determine it or?
triglycerides, yes, are very important. And for triglycerides, those are the fats dissolved in the blood. They're a fuel source. So they're normally only high immediately after a meal. So they should be less than 150.
Okay.
And total cholesterol should be less than 200. So for a healthy young adult that doesn't have any known problems and they've got new insurance and they're coming in for a physical, when we do all the blood and we've done the exam, I'll usually say, why don't I see you back in a month and we can actually talk about all your labs in person.
Mhm.
Of course, young people, uh, they're tech savvy, so they can totally pull up everything on the patient portal,
That's right.
which of course is a great resource to have. But usually, if especially if they're male, they're probably not eating great, and it's all those burgers and things. So we usually end up having a little tick in cholesterol. That's kind of one of the very common ones. And usually the thing we do is just talk about let's eat a few less burgers and a few more vegetables, and not even do a medication. So that's normally just a real quick fix for that.
Mhm.
Um, but every now and then you'll find somebody where their numbers are more out of line and they do need a bit of intervention, whether a strict diet or whether we add a medication in. And of course, the follow-up visit allows people to be able to talk about it. And
Mm.
again, if they're young and no health problems, then you see them again in 11 months, basically a year to repeat the physical, repeat the labs.
Okay, okay. All right. And then what about when's a good age for men to check for colon cancer?
The standard
Those-
answer is 45.
Yeah,
Family history and complaints will get you covered at a younger age,
your age.
because I've wrapped my brain around what happened with our Black Panther, that he ended up catching and developing
Yeah,
colon cancer,
yeah,
and he's gone before age 50, which meant he had to have been
right.
dealing with this health issue in the late 30s or 40s.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I would really be interested in knowing what his complaint, what his conversation was with his physician, to lead to the testing. But that's usually highly abnormal. That's usually someone with a known family history.
Right.
So it's also important to know your family history, which means you know Black people, people of whatever ethnicity who are listening to the sounds of our voices need to discuss family histories of health problems, and not go into the old secrecy thing, which is very
Mhm.
common in the South.
That's right.
Somebody died of something and we don't know, they wouldn't talk about it, and all we knew was they were dead. And that's
Mhm.
and that's a very common, very very common thing that I hear in the office. Of course, some people are adopted. They don't know their history. There are an awful lot of adoptions in the African American community, and some of these adoptions, if they were older people, weren't done the way they're done nowadays. So there are not lots of documents. So it's hard to trace these sorts of things without doing, an ancestry DNA type of a test, to find, family history, family relatives, and share the oral history of health conditions.
Yeah.
But that kind of history could get a person a colonoscopy earlier,
Mhm.
if need be. And I've had that happen where someone died of colon cancer, and the older sibling got tested, and then the younger sibling, who was much younger than age 45, was able to get theirs covered because the other histories were documented.
Committed, right. And you're right. I like to say, during the summer when we're having all these family reunions, we need to be having conversations about, and it's not, people may take offense to it. Oh, you just getting in my business.
Mhm.
But I am, because your business is my business.
Right, right.
And, if you're having some issues, I need to know. So I need to go in sooner at a certain age.
That's true.
I'm blessed. Well, I'm blessed in one way in that, my family, we pretty much, we share
Mhm.
everything, what's going on with each other. I didn't know my dad. And so that's the clincher, because I'm like, okay, I don't know what he had.
Right.
So, trying to explain to the doctor, I need to get this probably a little sooner than 50.
Mhm.
Sometimes is a dilemma, but you're right. We need to know our family history to see if we need to get seen sooner. Let's talk about one issue that, and I know Dr. Murray is coming on next week to talk about post-traumatic stress disorder. And I know a lot of times men, some men, it's hard sometimes to get them to a physical doctor, let alone a therapist.
That's true.
So I think men in general, with all the things that men have gone through throughout our history,
Yes.
society, on their jobs, I think they need to have some type of therapist to talk to. Because I know back in the day, it just wasn't heard of. And so sometimes some men may deal with things in a way that it shouldn't be dealt with. So address the mental needs that men have or men need.
Okay, gladly, gladly. Well, certainly, I mean, you hit the nail dead on the head. I mean, we're probably all right now between, years of COVID, between, massacres every other day,
Yeah.
between institutional racism, between environmental racism, climate change. I mean, just there's any number. I mean, I don't have enough fingers to
Right.
name the things that are psychic trauma to all of us. But yeah, we probably need about you know I can't even imagine the number of therapists that we actually need to service the population.
Mhm.
But for anyone who has the ability, with their insurance or knowing someone, to secure some sort of therapy, even on a once a month basis, and try to just talk out some feelings because men do tend to internalize.
Mhm.
And you're right that sometimes men will cope. Actually, other people will cope up. Women and other people will try to cope sometimes in less favorable ways. But coping by drinking or coping by self-destructive behavior, so the excessive bravado in the face of a minimal threat. That's a maladaptive coping um, mechanism. So a person who they've been abused, maybe at their job or in other kind of situations, and they couldn't lash out, and then something minor that happens, but it's a situation where they can lash out, and they lash out to the extreme because uh, maybe that was a safe target uh,
Right.
for them. And it's all because of whatever was the underlying issue. So the lashing out, the acting out, is not usually the problem. It's what led to that. That's the
That's right.
problem.
That's right.
So, those are things that men, in all honesty, don't do as well in talking about it. And, they're great documentations of that in TV shows. There's a great one in Blackish, I think, in the last season where Dre's father, has had some issues and he's hanging out with his friends, but he never talked to his friends about it. I mean, they're just hanging out.
Yeah.
And he never talked to his friends about the issue, even though he's actually in the presence of other men who, would to talk to him.
Yeah.
So yes, therapy I think is a great idea, but otherwise a good group of a core group of good men, of good friends who can talk to an individual in a non-judgmental way, whether you're fraternity brothers, church members, the
Yeah.
men's ministry,
Yeah.
some civic group, uh, in any number of ways besides traditional therapy, but do not discount traditional therapy from the right properly trained therapist. That is invaluable.
Yeah, yeah, it is. My pastor always joke with me because he said, "Ladies, y'all just can, we start talking and we can just talk." He said, sometimes it's hard for men to just, even with some buddies, just to have that conversation, just to start talking about some of the deeper issues. But you've hit it on the head. Yeah, y'all go through so many things. You need to talk to somebody about things that you are internalizing. What about heart tests? So when should men get them? Is there a certain age when they should just start having them, whether they're having symptoms or not?
Okay. Well, an EKG is a usual standard part of any physical exam. So that's a screening test. It's not necessarily predictive of anything, but something abnormal at least gives you the idea, gives the physician the idea that maybe we need to look a little further. So the more intensive cardiac tests, such as an echocardiogram or things like that, those aren't likely to be obtained easily without a diagnosis. But the diagnosis of an abnormal EKG is enough.
Right.
So it's the screening test, and again, it's almost always totally covered by a physical exam, and they're honestly not that expensive to begin with if it wasn't covered, and then the cost got passed on to the patient. But usually that's not the case. If it's not covered and it's done under a physical, it is usually something that the insurance doesn't allow to be charged to the patient. So either way, it ends up being something that is not an out-of-pocket expense.
Okay. Can they get and so at any age, with should somebody, and I know if they have heart issues that run their family, but if there's no heart issues that run their family, for a man, what normally should be the age when they start getting them? Or
I start doing them when it's the first adult physical, so even age 18.
Yes. Okay. Yes. All right, awesome. Okay. I ran across some other tests. Is it necessary for men to get, you always hear about women getting thyroid checks. Should they get their thyroid check?
I do that as a standard part of a physical.
Okay.
Yeah. So clearly men have thyroid disease. I mean, I've got male patients with thyroid disease that some of them have developed later in life in their 30s or 40s. So clearly you just have to basically screen everybody. And some people actually do have family histories of thyroid disease. So if they've got that becomes a diagnosis dependent on. But usually with a complaint of fatigue or just with the physical exam complaint, we can get the thyroid test covered. So that's not a big deal to obtain.
To obtain, gotcha. Okay. And so are there any other, well, let me start with this. So when I guess when addressing the needs of men, what should be their baseline for just making sure they have optimal health? Just making sure that, everything, the eating right. Can you talk about that, the exercising?
Okay. All right. I wouldn't say a good age, but certainly mid-20s to early 30s. Hopefully individuals have obtained a decent job and some benefits so they can start getting screened. So I would definitely say whenever that individual has the benefits, if you're having that large amount of money taken from your check, you should use it. So if it ends up being once a year, if you're a little lazy, it ends up being every few years, but you have to start somewhere. Now, when men start coming in, usually is late 30s to early 40s, and it's usually somebody who's married a little late, and thank God the wives, the good girlfriends are saying you need to go get checked out. And I always find it to be a good sign when a husband comes in and the wife is there. It's like, I go shake her hands like thank you, because I know he wasn't gonna do it.
Right.
Yeah, right. Of course, now the converse is also true. It's rare, but when the husband brings in the wife for an issue, that definitely raises eyebrows, and that also is a good sign. But yes, I like to, if I can talk to somebody ahead of time, I would say go ahead and get your insurance and start making a plan for how you want to do this. But if you have the benefit and you're going to lose it every year if you don't use it, why not use it?
Right.
So from 25 or whenever that person is established until they go to glory.
Right. Yeah. And it's important, like you said, start as young as you can, really try to teach our young boys, to even our daughter, just really establishing those good habits now, the eating right, the exercise, and so that when you get older, it's not as hard to, if the doctor said you may need to cut certain
Mhm.
things out.
Right,
It's a little bit easier.
right.
And just if you could stress, I think this would be the last thing, just stress the importance of men, if they see anything that's abnormal, just the importance of getting it checked and not delaying.
Right. Well, that's very true. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost like I think they used this saying more for something like terrorist or something. If you see something, say something.
Right, right,
But
right.
if you see something on your skin, this bump wasn't here. If you're feeling a
Yeah,
lump or something, you see something like that's weird. I haven't seen that before. That wasn't on
right,
pictures a year ago. So if you
right.
see something, yes, say something to someone.
Yeah,
Even if you discuss it with your friends or family, if you mention it enough and they notice it enough, they're going to say, "Go see the doctor,"
right.
because things can be found that way. Um, Real short story. A husband brought in his wife, and uh, physical exam, and I was examining, and I'm looking at them, and I'm doing the exam, and I'm like, "This isn't right." It's like it turned out, you can't see my hands, but I
Right.
could feel in her belly, I could feel a mass.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at the age and was like, okay, this cannot be a pregnancy,
Right,
based on
right.
the age. Have y'all noticed weight gain and increasing clothing sizes? No, not really. That was the answer. So I said, no, I feel something here. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
long story short, when it got an ultrasound, it was a huge fibroid,
Mm-hmm.
and you know when finally surgically removed, I mean, it was the size of a baby. I mean,
It was a wow.
yeah, I mean, she was incredibly anemic because it was taking all of
It
her.
was taking
Oh yeah, I
everything.
mean, she was incredibly anemic. But we got her tuned, and that was my first time meeting her. I mean, the husband had been coming, and he brought her in.
Yeah.
He had put her he had put her on his insurance, and because she wasn't working at the time, and it was that was it. But she
Yeah.
wasn't seeing a gynecologist or anything, because I mean that wasn't even necessarily my neck of the woods. I was just doing the full exam.
Right. Yeah.
you know. And of course, if you don't know somebody, you don't know if they have a weight issue or is it a tumor. As I'm feeling it again,
Yeah.
this doesn't feel like someone who eats a lot. This felt like a mass, and it
Yeah.
was. So yeah, if you see something, say something. If you
Yeah.
see extreme weight loss in an individual, Joe, are you working out? Are you changing your diet? Because you look like you lost a little weight. You know.
Yeah. Well, and that's the importance of having a good PCP,
Mhm.
because I've heard other stories about how somebody will go to their PCP and the PCP will find something and say, "Hey, you need to go and
Mhm.
check out, so and so, because I feel something here."
Right.
We had a story of a lady who her PCP found a lump in her breast, and she was young, like 35,
Hmm.
and told her to go, do some further testing, and she had
Right.
breast cancer. And that was
Wow.
at 35, which is less than the recommended age of when you're supposed
Exactly.
to get a mammogram.
Exactly.
But yeah, so that's the importance of having a good PCP. So this is awesome. Thank you, Dr.
You're
Miller.
quite welcome. Yes.
Yeah, for all of your tips, just educating us as women and as men, what we need to do for our men so that they can make sure they get checked out, our sons, so they can make sure they get checked out. I'm just going to run through just a couple of announcements
Okay.
just that are coming up. And then I want you to just close us out in just some final remarks for the
Okay.
people who are watching on today. All right, listen, everyone, we're having our in-person service this Sunday, June the 5th at 10 a.m. at CW Hayes. Of course, make sure you are there in the place. Make sure you send us an email at welcomeback@bhambc.org. That's welcomeback@bhambc.org to make sure that you have a spot reserved, to make sure that you guys are socially distanced. Don't forget, we're going to be giving out Steel City Pops. This is going to culminate or end our 10 days of fasting and praying. Of course, it doesn't have to end. You can continue to do so, but we've been doing that corporately. And so, of course, June 5th is the last day. So we were doing that lead up to Pentecost Sunday. So make sure hopefully we will see you on Sunday, June the 5th at 10 a.m. At C.W. Hayes School. The kids are out of school now. Don't forget our summer reading program is from June the 1st to July 31st. Parents, grandparents, guardians, make sure your children go to the library, get some books. If you have books around the house, encourage them to read. They will go to our website at bhambc.org. After they have read their book, they will key in the information once they click on this web slider. Once they submit it, it would get proofed. And of course, at the end of the summer, we will have prizes awarded for children in certain age groups. So there's going to be benefits to reading as many books as you can. So it starts June the 1st and it ends July the 31st. And then for all of our ladies, we are having our ladies pajama party Friday, June the 3rd at 7:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to be showing it on social media, but we're going to be talking about our mental health, our mental health and how it is important for us. So of course we have Shannon Smith out of Atlanta. She is a hairstylist, owns her own beauty academy. She's going to talk about how hair care is important for our mental health. And then Dr. Larissa is going to talk about foods that will benefit our mental health. And then Valerie Wilson is going to talk about, she is a licensed professional counselor, but she's going to talk about why our mental health is important. So those announcements. Listen, don't forget also, for those of you who registered for the Marriage and Singles Retreat, you did get an email. For everyone else, it is sold out. It is sold out. And so we are excited. We're going to have a great time there in Atlanta, Georgia at Mary Mac's. Also, of course, don't forget Pastor Mason is on oneplace.com, if you want to listen to more teachings by him. A great place to get it is oneplace.com. You can listen to him on the go. He is also on several podcasts, 6 of them. He's on iTunes, on Stitcher, on TuneIn, on Spotify, on iHeartRadio, and Google Podcasts. So once you click on the different podcasts, you do a search for his name, Dr. James H. Mason III, and then you can see and you can listen to all of his all the messages. So great way to continue to grow in your faith. So that's all we have for today. Dr. Miller, please close us out with some final remarks for all of our men.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. So guys, you've got a family, or you're going to want a family. You're going to want to do things in your life. You're going to want to have goals. So the way you do this is you have to invest in yourself. Your health is your wealth. So take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones. Don't let all the insanity of this world drag you down. Seek out a friend. Seek Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, find yourself a doctor, get yourself checked out, live and live well. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Miller.
Thank you so much, Lady Pam.
Thank you for this time that you have shared with us and spent with us. Blessings for you and your family, your entire business. And y'all heard it, guys. Of course, Dr. Miller. Also, you are in Macon, Georgia. So if somebody's listening in the Middle Georgia area, how can they find you?
Okay. Well, we're in Macon, Georgia. We're right across from historic Fountain Car Wash. And you can, of course, find us, or you can email us at mfpmacon@gmail.com.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.